Uh, who did that? You, Joe? I want to welcome everybody on behalf of the football board and the instructional chairs. Commissioner, he's on here. I do want to say hello to our Reno brothers up there. Steve, good to see you. The
Thanks for having me.
what we're going to do today is we're going to keep everybody stay muted unless you're going to talk. There's a raise hand thing. If anybody needed to when you do the breakout rooms, there's really not much to talk about as a group other than being talked to. When we do the breakout sessions, you're going to be able to pick your breakout room. Then you're going to be a smaller group and you're able to converse a lot easier. This is the first time that we do it right now. As of right now, we have 107 people on the call. That's pretty good, man. I mean, that's pretty good. We're going to have four breakout rooms: referee, umpire, line, and back judge. So first thing we'll do is we'll ask Larry. Larry's on the call, our commissioner. Larry, would you like to open the Zoom up with the comments?
Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Yeah. First, I just want to welcome everybody back to 2025 football. Should be a great year. It's always a good time to get started early and work our way into middle of August to be here before you know it, and we'll be out there doing some good football games. So one thing I do want to say is thank everybody that have made time to attend these off-season trainings that Terry White's put on at his house, that we put on at the Raiders. These are very important. We've kept a total, tracking who's where and who's doing what. It just really shows your commitment to want to get better, want to learn. So just again, thank everybody for who has participated, and thank the new football board. We're all in for a really good season. This new football board is very enthusiastic. They're very talented, and they have a lot to offer. So I just say, just be ready. We lost a lot of people last year with football board, with Mark Radner, myself being the commissioner, new people in the NIAA office. We lost hundreds of years of experience, but we're going to keep moving on. We're going to keep pushing forward. So just stay with us. And again, that's all I got to say. But thanks to everybody, and I appreciate you guys coming back, and we'll be ready for 2025. Thank you.
Thanks, Larry. Terry White, you have any comments before we start? I thought I saw him on here. Okay.
Hey, John, can you hear me?
Yeah, now we can. Go ahead.
Okay. No, what I was saying was it's real positive that we got the numbers. 107, I think you said, was the number of people.
Yeah, we're up to 112 now.
Okay, and that's great. That's great because that's what we need. You know, we're all in this together, trying to make this association, better. And so, yeah, that's very positive, and I just hope we keep it up as this, the year goes on. And let's hit the ground running when we get to the first game of the year. That's it.
All right. Steve, I'm gonna go. Steve is the instructional. What's the correct title? What are you, Steve?
I'm an idiot, but I'm the new state rules interpreter. I took Jim Calvin's spot. I know I worked with Jim quite a bit the last few years. I have big shoes to fill there. A lot of respect for Jim and what he brought, and I hope I can measure up for the state and especially for you guys down south. I'm our instructional chair up here in Reno, and I've had the pleasure of working with several of you guys, many of you guys, and hope to work with more of you in the future. I plan on coming down there in September to just work a regular season game with one of your crews and just kind of get to know you guys better. So I appreciate you guys having me on. I've been talked a lot to Larry last few weeks. We text each other back and forth questions. He threw me a couple humdingers, and it's all good. Um, so we got a new test this year. We're doing a statewide test based on, partially on our mechanics manual. So I hope that goes well. I think it'll be a good product, and we'll see how that goes.
Well, we appreciate you jumping on. Uh, Doug Sewell was called out to work, but he said he was going to jump on. Did you jump on, Joe? Doug?
Yeah, Doug's on.
Yeah, I jumped on.
Go ahead, Doug.
Hey, everybody. Glad you all can make it tonight. Steve, it's good to see you, and appreciate you guys picking up the slack because I got called out for work tonight. Just some things we just want to reiterate and stuff like that is expectations and things like that. It's not only our expectations, but it's expectations that we feel you guys should have for yourselves, right? And part of the things is meeting goals, and a lot of discussions that are being had is, what do I got to do to be considered to get the big game per se, or get a state playoff game, or whatever it is your goal that you want to achieve, maybe working at a higher level or whatever it is. The first thing you got to have is you got to hold yourself accountable, and you got to have expectations and goals. You got to set those things. Without having goals, you got to have plans. Otherwise, you're just going to wish yourself into these situations and things like that, and that's never going to work out. So that's just one thing we really want to stress tonight. Some of the things I was going to go over with the line of scrimmage things, I sent over a pregame checklist that I used to use, and it would break the game down into situations, whether it was, what I got to do during a run play, or if it's a pass play, what things can happen during those segments of the plays, the kicking game, what I need to do pregame, what I need to do as soon as we get out onto the field. How do I talk to people? How do I address certain things? So there's a template that, is going to be shared with you guys that you can utilize and manipulate it, make it your own type thing. But it's going to spell everything out, every segment of the game. So from free kicks to scrimmage kicks, PSK enforcements, what they can, what they can't do, and all that other stuff. So that was one thing that I was going to go over with you guys on the line of scrimmage things.
Whoever's
The
getting
other things that Steve
on-
talked about is
Stop trying to get on the whiteboard, whoever's doing it, please. Go ahead, Doug, sorry.
no worries. Sorry, I'm getting text messages as we're going. The other thing that we want to talk about is the testing and the things that we've talked about. Steve and I have talked about it, and other things. The amount of times that we can take a test. We're gonna start having, this year. It's gonna get into the mechanics manual. This mechanics manual has been available. There's been a few changes updated this year, but essentially it's been the same for the last 2 years. Last year, when I asked questions about just going to the goal line mechanics and things like that, what was eye-opening to me was half the association was still saying the 5 and 3, the other half was saying the new 7 and 5 when we go to goal line mechanics. So that was a big eye-opener, and that was one of the things that we discussed and why we're having questions regarding mechanics on the test. Just to make sure that we're getting into these things. You're going to see questions are going to be game situations. It's going to be a lot of, okay, you got to identify the foul that's being described in there. You're going to have to break it down, give us the down, the distance, the yard line that it needs to be on. So it's going to be more game situational type questions on these things, just like you would have to do on a football field. So it's just kind of preparing you for that. The biggest thing is going to be the changes on the amount of times that we're able to take the test. One of the other things that's going to be changed is when you take the test, it's not going to give you, it's going to tell you what answers or what questions you missed, but it's not going to spit out the correct answer for you. So when you go back in and take the test, and it says, hey, you missed this question or whatever, make a mental note or take a screenshot of the questions, if that's something that you want to do. It's not here to trip you up. It's to make sure that, we actually are getting into the rule book and we're understanding what the rules are and its applications. So it is going to require a little bit more, effort on your guys' end in taking the test. So there is not going to be I can just go through and answer question B for all 50 questions, and I'll get all the answers to the questions and be able to go back in and take it and just copy and paste it and do it that way. It's going to jumble them up. So, and it might not only jumble up the order of the questions, but the order of the answers. So what was B on your original question might be A, C, or D on the other ones. So just wanted to go over those aspects of what the test is going to be and everything else. Everything that you've been given as far as the questions and things like that, that is the pool that we're going to draw from. So make sure you get with your crew chief, crew chiefs, make sure you sit down with your crews and go work through this. This is going to be a new format, that some of us aren't used to taking. And it's going to be a great opportunity for you to sit there and explain how you came up with these answers and things like that. And that's something that we're looking at doing and going over these questions, as an entity. So again, it's not to trip you up. It's to, give you the tools that people have been asking for. So, and these are the tools that you're going to need if you want to work the big games, if you want the big state final games. You got to know these type of things, and that's what it's going to take to get those games. So those are some of the things we just wanted to talk to you about.
All right, thanks, Doug.
I appreciate it.
And
Have a good
Doug,
night, everybody. And yes,
be safe out there, Doug.
Thanks, Doug.
we'll do. I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, next from the board, Tal, you're up.
Yeah, hey everyone. I know I didn't see you guys at the Raiders, but just want to really thank our commissioner, Terry White, our board for really having this time to create this space for a lot of new officials. For some of those who don't know me, my name is Tal Felice, and it's a pleasure to be here with you guys. And just want to really cover some housekeeping items with the board as far as the email that was sent out via Arbiter. This is a new year in 2025, as Larry had shared, that this is a new board. There's several changes that are taking away with that. We have a new instructional chair. Thank you to Jim Cabin, and an assistant instructional chair. Also, new technology integration, right? We have test requirements. But with that said, with change, there's a pivot, and in that pivot, it often brings growth. But also with that in mind, in that email that was sent over, it's just really that your voice matters as we continue to get better as an association. So really review the email that was sent over just yesterday. So this is our first training kickoff meeting. There was an email that was sent out, and in there it talks about the mechanics manual. So The mechanics committee just updated the mechanics manual for 4, 5, and 7-person mechanics. So that'll be good for the next 2 years. So that when there's this integration, thank you to Steve and our Reno team for being here, that we'll be able to do the same thing so we can be on the same page. So also with the website as well, you'll be seeing the new website that's coming out. And also we have our SNOA football YouTube channel, which is awesome. Thank you to Joel and John for getting this taken in place. So all of this video integration, rules interpretation, communication, subscribe to this channel and they'll update the channel as such. And you can use that YouTube for anything as you go through. You'll look at different situations, whether it be pre-snap, at the snap, post-snap, holds, pass interference. But we want to create this channel so that you can continue to grow and learn and become a better official. John, go ahead and jump in when I talk about testing, but the testing will consist of 50 multiple choice test questions. And as Doug alluded to, there's no longer more than 99 attempts, right? So this will be about 3 to 4 attempts to complete the tests. Questions are pulled from a 98 question study guide, and that includes a state mechanics manual along with any NFHS 2025 rule changes. And these are the requirements for eligibility for varsity and playoff games, is you need to score 80% or higher. All right, so if you're looking for eligibility, you need to score 80% or higher. And then if you're eligible for sub-varsity, this is freshman and JV games, you need to score 70% or higher. Our encouragement to the crew chiefs, and my crew chief does a great job. We always take it together and we learn and we continue to grow. And we look at questions, and it's great to get into the rule book, right? It's great to get into the mechanics book to kind of see where we're supposed to be, where you're supposed to be at in every position. Also, rules and case books for the distribution. We have a crew chiefs meeting July 7th, Monday, July 7th, and you can contact your crew chiefs if you want your book ASAP, and then you can coordinate with them so that they'll have a number of rules and case books to distribute over to you. All right. Also, just a reminder, game time reminders for us is now schools this year, they have the flexibility to start a game at 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock p.m. So check on your arbiter for any assignments and look at the details closely. And your crew chief who is assigning you that game on JV or for that varsity game on a Friday night will confirm the report based on the kickoff. All right, John, anything on the test questions?
No, I believe it's 4 tries maximum.
4 tries maximum. Okay.
That's what Doug and Steve talked about yesterday. Am I correct, Steve?
Yes, you're correct. I just today I sent the test doesn't open till Tuesday, I believe. I talked to the arbiter guy who's in charge of it, and I sent the request to him today to make it a maximum of 4 attempts. Doug and I discussed that before. I've never seen anybody up here take more than 3 to pass, so 4 should be more than enough. Like Tao mentioned, the 98 question study guide you got, that is the test. Those are the exact questions you will see. There's about 10 or 11, I'm not sure how many, that were designated as mandatory questions, which will appear on everybody's test. Those are essentially the new rules and the new updated mechanics. And after those 10 or 11, the other 38 or 39 or whatever will be pulled from the rest of the pool. So everybody's test may look different. Okay, it's selected at random. So you really need to study all those 98. We found an error. One of our guys up here, we handed out our study guide last week to our guys, and one of our former crew chiefs was going over it, and he found a problem with question 33. It was just misworded by me, so I apologize for that. So we're going to dump that question out of the test. That will not be in the test. The foul was supposed to happen a yard behind the line of scrimmage. I put it as a yard ahead. And so there's no correct answer on the test. So that was kind of the screw up. We proofread this thing probably 6 or 7 times and we still missed it. So that's just how these things go. So question 30, it's a pushing the runner, assisting the runner type call. So that one will not be on the test. So I figure it's just easier to dump it. And 97 is plenty of a pool to have. So anyway, like Doug said, Jim's test may look different from Tao's test, may look different from John's test, because all those questions are pulled at random. And if you have to take it a second time, you may get different questions out of that pool of 97 now. And the correct answer will still be the correct answer, but maybe in a different spot, just like Doug was explaining. All right. That's the only things you really need to know about.
Great, Steve. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you, Steve.
That's I think
Hey, Steve, real quick question. When we log in to take the test, do you have to finish it at one time when you log in, or can you take it over time? Like, just out of curiosity.
That's a good question. We didn't change that parameter. So I believe if you only have, 20 minutes and you get 23 questions done and you log out, you can start over and finish it. I don't think you still have to do all the questions and then submit it. So if you don't submit it, then I think you can come back and pick up where you left off, just like before.
It's going to be the same testing tool through Arbiter at the NIA portal, Will. So
All right.
I believe you won't have any trouble doing it that way, taking it, 20 questions at a time or whatever you need to do.
All right. Thanks.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, so what we'll do now is we've heard from the board and up north, the commissioner, so we're now going to turn it over to our instructional team, Joe Kerbin and John Rabin. And floor's yours, Joe.
Thank you very much. I'm going to share my screen. I just wanted to get this out of the way and talk about the new rules, rules changes, however you want to put it. Mostly going to focus on the forward fumble and how that's changed and different scenarios that we may come across and need to be aware of and how they may be different. The biggest difference will be the situation here where it's in the field of play and a forward fumble goes out of bounds between the goal lines. It's going to be returned at the spot of the fumble instead of giving the offense basically an advantage, as well as replacing it where at the spot of the fumble, the game clock will be on the ready and not on the snap, unless there are other circumstances that would change that, but otherwise it'd be on the ready. So here, I did a little animation. So for example, runner inbounds, forward fumble out of bounds. We're going to have a beanbag at the spot. And if they, depending on the situation, where it's just a plain vanilla example like this, we're going to place the ball there. If they got the line to gain, they did great. If not, they didn't. But this is a possible enforcement spot, so we need to make sure we have a beanbag down. Make sure you continue officiating the play. I think the biggest difference mechanic-wise is you don't need to go and get that out of bounds spot. If there is, continuing action where the ball goes out of bounds, make sure you're a dead ball official and you're in the right place, but you don't need to go grab that spot like you have in the past.
When the ball does go out of bounds, we need to kill the clock though, correct?
Correct.
And restart it when we reset it? Correct.
Yeah, once the ball's back down, it's going to be a 40-second play clock too when it goes out of bounds. And unless that was, unless B is going to be next to put the ball in play or whatever example otherwise, but say it goes from first down to second down, it'd be 40 seconds when it goes out of bounds. And then, yeah, the game clock will be on the ready. Once we get the ball set, you can wind it up, Shane. Okay, scenario 2 here, forward fumble into opponent's end zone and out of bounds. The result of the play is a touchback. Also, if it were to hit the pylon, it would be the same result. So same thing, we need to make sure we have a bag down, continue to officiate the play. This example is not goal line or anything like that. So say we have the quarterback or running back going downfield, you would give yourself a cushion, H and L, where the ball snapped here, the back judge maybe on the end line need to come up. But we kind of expect the U, H, and L to have a bag down here. And basically anybody, if they're comfortable, could signal touchback at this time. We don't really need to, if you're sure that's the outcome, kill the clock, signal touchback. You don't have to let somebody do it or anything. Any of the officials are able to do that. There's the bag, sorry. Okay, next up, fumble from your own end zone. If team A is in their own end zone, the result of the play would be a safety, so they wouldn't get that advantage of wherever the ball went out of bounds. So quarterback gets the snap, rolls out, gets hit, fumbles it, forward out of bounds. Probably the white cap is going to have a bag down, or in reverse mechanics, the H or the L. So same thing, we'd kill the clock, and we'd allow the R to signal safety. If he needs any other information from anybody like that, he can get it, or she can get it before he or she signals. Next up, forward out of bounds after a change of team possession. So this example, okay, forward pass. I'm just using this example because it's the most common. Okay, intercepted in the end zone. Team B is in their own end zone. All right. So team B scrambles, trying to get out of their own end zone, and then forward fumble out of bounds. Same thing. We need a bag in the end zone. All right, to let everybody know we've got a fumble from the end zone. That's also a possible enforcement spot. All right, continue to officiate this play. In many cases, back judge, you'll be on the end line. H&L, you'll be on the goal line still. Either of you can signal touchback unless you want to discuss it first, because these plays can get a little wild, a little hairy. Okay, and then this is the last example I wanted to talk about here was forward fumble out of bounds with momentum. All right, so back judges, this is why you need to carry 2 bean bags. All right. So forward pass, intercepted at the 5 or in. All right, we're gonna have a bean bag there. If their own momentum takes them into their own end zone, and then they fumble it forward out of bounds in the field of play, we're going to have a second beanbag at that spot. So the only time we're going to have beanbags on interceptions if there's momentum. Momentum can only happen on kicks, fumbles, passes, if they're recovered 5 yards or in, and the player's own momentum takes them into the end zone. So in this case, we'd need 2 bags because there was a fumble in the end zone. All right. In this case, it would not be a touchback. We're going to place the ball at the momentum spot. So, for example, this case was around the 4 or 5 yard line. All right. We probably, anytime there's momentum, which is rare, we're going to have, the covering officials, the HL and B in this case, kill the clock. They'd want to confirm the result of the play with each other and report it to the R. And then if there's a stadium mic, the R could announce it, especially something like this. They'd want to, allow everybody to have all the information and get it to the coaches. Let me switch because let me switch presentations. You can see a nice picture of my family in just a moment. All right, so now I'm just going to go over what the Federation sent out. This I'm going to go pretty quickly through. The biggest rule change was going from 4 fumbles out of bounds, but they did make these mouth and tooth protectors illegal. They can't have anything adorning them, anything on them. So these are different examples of illegal ones. I'll make sure that this is available. I can just email it to everybody. This is the Federation PowerPoint for the season for all the rules changes. Okay, next up, these are example of legal ones. They don't have anything like jewelry or anything extra on them. Arm sleeves in 27. Basically, if it's part of the shirt or not, they need to meet certain specifications. So in order to do that, they need to have this SFIA logo. It's not something we're going to be concerned about this year, a few seasons from now, but they announced it this year. electronic signs. So they are allowed to use fixed electronic signs like this. It can't have any audio. It can't have any moving pictures or anything like that, but they are allowed to use something like in this picture here to relay plays. You still can't have anything in helmet, any communication device like that. Here's an example. In between the 9-yard marks, you can't have video. You can outside of the field of play, but this would be an example of a foul. Another thing, everybody wants to be on TikTok and YouTube and everything. Can't have any microphones or cameras built into your helmet or adorning your jersey or anything like that. Previously, we tell people not to do this, but now they've expounded upon it more in the rule book. And let me go to slide 22. All right, so illegal participation penalty. It's been revised and clarified, standardized. You can read it all here. It's 15 yards, live ball, basic spot enforcement. All right, we can go deeper into that in the breakouts if needed, but that was the other major rule change. And then one of the editorial changes I wanted to touch on, defenseless receiver. This is more for the back judges. So if you guys have questions in the breakouts, you can ask me. But they cleaned it up, added more verbiage as far as what is a defenseless receiver and also what constitutes not, what is not a foul. So incidental contact, if it's initiated with open hands, or if you're making a bona fide attempt to tackle wrapping arms around the receiver, things like that. And then the points of emphasis this season, let me get to them. Illegally and improperly worn player equipment. So we will discuss that more in the first in-person meeting. Sportsmanship, as always, and defenseless player targeting. That's something else too. I'll expound more on as we get into further meetings. But we're already 35 minutes in, and I know we only have another hour after this, so we want to make sure we cover as much as we can in our breakouts. So thank you, John.
Okay, go ahead and take that off.
Yep.
The screen, and we have just a couple of things, and then I will open the breakout rooms. But first, we're going to have Vince Kristosik, the president, brief us on the changes in registration fees. Are you on here, Vince?
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, so I'm in a hotel in Chicago, so I don't know what the reception's like. Can you hear me okay, John?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. All right. Yeah. Appreciate you giving me a few minutes. So I put an email out to everybody in SNOA about, I don't know, 2 hours ago. And the purpose of the email is to let everybody know a couple of things. Registration opens July 1st. That has not changed, same as every year. The one change is registration fees with the NIAA are going up from $50 to $75 this year. So it's a $25 increase for everybody. Second sport is still $20. Third sport is $20, so on and so forth. The reason for the $25 increase is the amount of money that the NIAA is spending on postseason, which includes the airline tickets for the officials, the mileage officials traveling around, the hotel expenses just for the spring sports. They spend some upwards of $300 a hotel room down in the South for the state tournament. So anyways, to recoup some of this cost and make sure the state championships are still officiated by mixed crews, because I know Larry, if you want to talk about this too, Larry Hansen, me and Larry went to a meeting in Reno about a month and a half ago. There was a little bit of discussion about maybe not having mixed crews once we get to the state playoffs. If the games are up north, it'd be old Northern crew. If the games are down south, it'd be an old Southern crew, even if a north-south team is playing. Nobody wanted that, so to make sure that doesn't happen, and with all the costs associated with traveling officials around the state in 11 different sports, the fees went up $25. Larry, you want to talk about any of that too, or pretty accurate?
No, you discussed it perfectly. And like we said, we definitely don't want to have all South officials in the South and all Reno officials in the North. And I don't think there's no coach in the state that wants an all North crew when there's a South team involved and vice versa. So definitely. So thank you.
Due to the increase, the NIAA is now going to give all officials in the state to register an NIAA activity card for free. So the registration fees are going up 25, but everybody will get an activity card. Last year, if you purchased one, it was $25. The activity card will get you and a guest of yours in for free for all NIAA events for the entire year. So what they wanted to do is encourage officials, even in the officials that work winter and spring, to register early so they can take advantage of the card that they're going to get. So other than that, yeah, registration opens Tuesday, $75. Also, the auxiliary fees. We only got a handful of officials that only do auxiliary and not get on the field. Those fees went from 30 to 55. Okay, so anybody that works auxiliary, giving 55 instead of 30. So that's no change. Any questions? No? Okay. All right. That's it. All right, John, thanks. Appreciate it.
Thanks a lot, Vince. Okay, last thing on the agenda before we break out to the rooms is we need to make sure that everybody understands that youth football, NYS football, will now fall under the football board and all of us in football. It is no longer by itself on the side. So crew chiefs, we're going back to where we're all in charge of youth football. However, we're not going to change Alan Hennig. He will still do the signing of all youth football. So the crew chiefs, we're responsible to get our people on the field, but Alan's going to be the one that's going to be assigning them. And we'll talk about more of that when it gets closer. Did I miss anything, Tal?
No, just wanted to kind of touch on that, John. Me and Alan, thank you, Alan, for we went to the NYS coaches meeting, and I think it was a great time just to kind of give them some understanding about the communication factor and then also sportsmanship, and really just letting them know as they're getting a mixture of a veteran and new officials together. So the whole point in this whole conglomerate of things is to help us to get better. And it's going to take some time to be patient. We can agree to disagree. So we had a great conversation, a lot of questions that were asked, but I think the benchmark was set to have an understanding of what we do here at SNOA. We not only just come on a Saturday, we're meeting preseason, we're watching film, we're having meetings, we're doing tests. So a lot of things that go into it that I don't think that the NYS coaches understand. So I think with that, they got a great understanding or just a refresher on what we do as officials. So that was it, John.
Okay, so anybody that's brand new to officiating, you will automatically go to the line of scrimmage, the headlines and line judge. When I hit and open the breakout rooms are going to be the referee, umpire, headlines, line judge, and back judge. You're to go and enter the breakout room yourself. You're not automatically going in there. So on my computer, I have 742. At 8:25 maximum, I'm going to close all the rooms and bring everybody back into here for the last couple of minutes. All right, does that make sense, everybody?
John, I have a question before you go.
Shoot.
Lance Steeman. Larry, as far as the meetings and attendance, do these Zoom meetings count towards our total attendance of the number of meetings we're supposed to attend every year? I only ask because I've looked at the schedule and I'm on vacation for 2 of the in-person meetings.
Well, Larry, you want to talk about that? You want me to answer that?
You can answer that. Yep.
We'll discuss that with all the crew chiefs and everything on July 7th to get everything out to you.
Okay.
All right.
Well,
Okay.
Hey,
But
John,
I will tell you though, the off-season meetings that were put on by SNOA and the Raiders, those are going to count towards your meeting requirements. We have a list of all those of the people that have attended.
And I'm pretty sure, I can't speak for the other board members, but I'm pretty sure that it's going to go the same way for this meeting. This is a SNOA meeting. But, you know,
hey,
we
John, I
want
got a
we
question.
want to make sure you have we're not going to talk, let's not talk about that right now. We want to make sure that Lance has a good vacation.
John, I have a question. This is Rodney. I just want to know, are we going to the breakout session according to your position or a cruise?
Position. Once again, there's 4 rooms. Referee room, umpire room, headlines and line judge room, and back judge room. 4 rooms. That answer your question, Rodney?
Certainly did.
All right, here we go. Hey, this is my first time doing it. Let me go ahead and let everybody know before we do it. 130 people on this call. Great. All right, here we go.
Should have recorded all that, but we'll keep it moving. Okay, next up, the mechanics that have changed. An official mechanic now, 281 intermissions at the end of the first and third quarters. As a back judge, we're going to escort the down box to their new position. So not only are you going to be writing down a distance where the ball's at, ball position and everything like that, you're also going to be escorting the down box down, while the H, or excuse me, in this case, the H will be escorting the chains down.
Hey, Joel, I have a
Yes.
question about
Yes,
that.
go ahead.
When you mean escorting, I mean physically walking like with the H, or just going to a new spot between quarters, marking it, facing the press box and all that with our foot, like we used to do? I mean, are we physically going to walk the box, or what do you mean?
Well, so what I plan on doing is writing everything down first, right? And then
Of course.
just walking with the actual box person. Don't grab the box from them or anything. Just make sure they put it in the right place. You don't need to put your foot down or anything like that. Just if it's at you know, A is 40 and we're gonna go to the other side, you know, we're gonna go 20 yards over, just make sure they put it in the right place and just jog with them. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so you want us to actually not stay between the hats. You want us to go like to the sideline within a couple yards and just kind of follow along.
Yeah. Yeah, you can stay on the
Okay.
field. Yeah, you don't need to go. I mean, you can go inside the 2 yards of restricted area, whatever, but just, you know, don't get in the way of the H when he's moving the chains. But that's kind of the idea, is just to double check, be another layer and make sure that we're putting the down box in the correct place.
So we're helping the H out.
Basically, yeah, helping the whole
All right.
crew out for sure.
Okay, that's new, but I got it.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, exactly. It's new. It's not something I've really done historically. I would just write everything down and then from a distance make sure we did it correctly, right? But it's another layer, and I don't think it's going to hurt anything. Above that, 263 penalty enforcement. I think this is just more clarification of what we'd like as a state. If the penalty is going to be enforced on a free kick, so say we've got on a touchdown or a try, some type of 15-yard penalty that the coach elects to have on the succeeding kickoff. We are going to go to the succeeding free kick spot, place the ball on the ground, face the press box, do the prelim signal for the foul. All right, pick up the ball and force the yardage. Do not give another signal. Just you only have to do it once. You can set the ball on the ground, so don't hold the ball while you're doing the preliminary signal. And just go 15 yards or whatever it could, and or whatever it may be. If the other example too would be, okay, say there's some 5 yard or penalty that, blocking before the ball's gone 10 yards by K or something. Same thing. Do the signal and then walk it. You don't have to do the signal again. Get everybody set up, hand over the ball, get to your position. Any questions?
Okay,
there?
we were already doing that pretty much, right?
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, this is more of a, I don't think this is new. This is just more of a review. But it wasn't worded like that in the mechanics manual prior. So now we're on the same page. Okay, next up, clock mechanics, clock management. So the clock is, as a back judge, is always your responsibility. It doesn't matter. I know basically 100% of the fields here, there's very few exceptions. You're only gonna have a clock facing one direction. Doesn't matter if you're not facing the clock, it's still your responsibility. If you have to peek over your shoulder, if you need to take a look, that's totally fine. There are certain situations you do want to make sure that you let the referee know, hey, this is technically your responsibility. For example, end of quarters, if you're not facing the clock, and a snap's imminent and the offense doesn't get the snap off, that would be the case that we don't really want you turning around. The white cap can take it, but we want you to be aware of that situation. We want you to be aware of the clock and making sure that you're always taking that as a priority as your responsibility. It's one of the first things you're going to do, dead ball officiating, after you make sure that colors are separating and there's no action there. Check the clock, make sure the status is correct, right? Making sure that you've started your play clock at an appropriate time. We do have the advantage of not having, I would call it an advantage of not having a physical play clock. So, making sure that, okay, 1 Mississippi, all right, 2 Mississippi, all right, now I'll start my play clock, making sure that you give adequate time for that next play. Include the game clock status as part of your pre-snap routine along with the play clock, like I was saying. So, okay, after you find your position, yeah, your play clock's rolling. Okay, good. Check the clock again. All right, it's the correct status. Okay, we're outside of 2 minutes at the end of the second or fourth quarter. We're just being aware. I just wanted to go over this again. I think we're all familiar, just the clock expiration mechanics. So you're going to look at the clock and you're going to see zeros if it's a play clock. You're going to feel, your ref smart or whatever thing buzzing because it's not going to make a sound. Look at the ball. If the snapper's not started his motion, blow your whistle to end the quarter in this case, or throw the flag if it's a delayed game, right? So we need to see the clock, then we need to see the ball. Okay.
Joe, just got one question, Joe, before
Yeah.
you start. Have the SNOA adopted when the play clock is running down to raise the hand at 10 and 5 yet? Or are we
Yeah,
still
we raised it at 5.
We raised it to 5. Okay.
Yeah, and thanks for bringing that up, Corn. We just do raise it. We don't drop it or anything like that. Just raise it at 5, and that's part of my pregame. When I go and talk to the coaches to ask who their punt returners are, I just remind them that I'm going to raise my hand at 5 seconds, and then they have until I throw the flag to snap the ball. Does that make sense?
Copy. Thank you, sir.
Hey, Joel, I've been doing that for a couple of years now. I meet with the starting quarterback and the head coach, and they generally appreciate that when we were implementing this 5-second thing because it was kind of new, and some people, coaches didn't know if it was 10 or 5, and it's 5.
Yes.
So I was doing that and then I asked the coach, I know you're busy, but because I could talk to your punt returners, and I do the same thing that you talked about when you started this presentation. I always meet with the punt returners. I tell them, make sure I ask them to give me their signal, and then that's good. You do that, I'm your best friend type thing, and they appreciate that. That I take the time to introduce myself, and I also go over the play clock thing. I will still do that until I'm told not to. It's just the coach already knows. And he gets a gentle professional reminder. So I've always done that.
Thanks, Bill. Yeah, and generally, I like to, after the white cap and the ump do their pregame with the head coach. I like to do it pretty quickly after, unless he's coaching. I try to just get it out of the way, ask those questions, ask who the quarterback is, who the starting quarterback is, just to confirm. So that way, hey, you can let him know about the play clock and how how you're going to adjudicate that. So thank you, Bill.
Because essentially we don't really want to call a delay game unless we have no choice, because it stops the clock and the whole 9 yards. If the coach knows, the quarterback knows to look for the back judge's hand up, you better snap the ball.
Yep.
Or call a timeout.
Yep. So under 2 minutes, we want to use the game clock for play clock status as much as possible. It's real clean. You got to do a little bit extra math. You can use your Ref Smart as a backup, but generally I'll try to sync it up with the play clock, with the game clock as much as possible. The last 2 minutes, basically of every quarter. That's something that I try to do. Makes the crew look a lot better. You've got, in situations, we always have some assistant coach some season is, clocking our play clocks. And it's like, guys, I don't think you want us to go to visual play clocks. And I don't think the state wants to pay for it and the schools don't want to pay for it. So let's try and be as consistent as possible. But our play clock philosophy is also delay game is not going to be our, quote, best call. It's not the most important call. We have a layer of latitude and leniency depending on the situation, that we're able to use and utilize, but at the same time, always use your best judgment, right? So I'm going to just leave it at that. It's not the most important call out there. If, a team's got running clock and they're losing by 70 points and it takes them 45 seconds to snap the ball, I don't think we're too concerned about that, right? So just if it's a competitive game, and they're not getting the ball off, to let the white cap know to remind the quarterback one time, and then the next time it takes them more than 40 seconds, bang them and we can get it over with and they won't do it again. But try to communicate first before the first time you call delay a game. Yeah. Next up. All right, so penalty enforcement here. I went over I added the categories for pass interference because that's outside of delay a game. That's the primary foul that we're calling. And I can touch on defenseless receiver as well if we want to get into that. But make sure you know all your pass interference categories. Makes it a lot easier when you're reporting them to anybody, especially the white cap, and relaying them over the O2Os. Generally speaking, I try to use them as much as possible because if I can't place defensive or offensive pass interference into a category, I probably don't have a foul. You notice that early contact isn't in and of itself pass interference, but generally it is if you're not playing the ball with early contact, or it's generally a part of it, right? Or we have early contact with a grab and restrict hold, right? Things like that. So when I'm trying to let the referee know, you have your flag down, make sure it's in a good spot. It's not as important here because it's 15 yards regardless, or half the distance, depending on where it is. Replay the down. You'll give your prelim signal and hit your O2O. Offensive pass interference, number 35. It was a push off. All right. And that way, your H or L can relay that information. I was going to talk about on the next slide, our communication as well. I think that's something that is kind of underutilized as a back judge. We have the ability to work sideline to sideline. We can be really, we have the ability to really communicate with coaches better than the H&Ls in some situations, because we're not really as concerned about the spot of the ball during the dead ball situation. We can get over there, especially if we're the calling official on a penalty or one of the calling officials, we can get that information over to them. Coaches generally appreciate that. They want us to they tell us that they want us to communicate more. So if you're able to do that as a back judge, it's extremely helpful. Next up, if you are not the calling official, you're just out there, write it down. I usually track alongside, if I'm a back judge during the game, alongside with who's ever the clock and the timer and score. I'll track the fouls as well, especially my own. Monitor the crew. So you write it down, make sure that they're going the correct distance, enforcing the correct foul from the correct spot, right? You can be a triple check besides the U and the H who are going to walk it off and the L who should already be there. Because once you get the information to the referee, they're in referee mode. They're going to turn the press box and do their signals and, say what's supposed to be done. We have to make sure we're that additional layer again, why they have 5 officials out there, making sure that we are adjudicating these fouls correctly. I always like to provide clock status over the O2O once the referee's done announcing. We were in a good position. Hey, snap, chop, whatever you want to call it, ready, whatever you like to say. I'll usually say snap or chop. That's usually what I'll say, or wind. So, and then when reporting fouls to the referee, remember, I've heard it a bunch, but I imagine you have as well. Garbage in, garbage out. So make sure you really only are reporting pertinent information that the Whitecap needs for their announcements, or for an and peripherally for the other officials if they need to give an explanation. You don't want to talk too much and just distract them, or just, you want to be sure, right? If you've got a flag down, we're not, him and Han think it might be, I'm going to get the information into the Whitecap. If somebody has other information and they want to take me off of it, great. Let's have that conversation. Otherwise, if you're not sure, let's just stay out of the way. Okay. All right. Next up.
Hey, Joel, really quick.
Yeah.
This is Bo Burgess. So just asking about, because I know you do a little bit of white hat as well. Do you more like, when we're communicating as a back judge, us saying something like, hey, on the snap or chop, or do you like the, hey, we're hot, hey, we're cold? Is there one you think we should go to more as an association?
It's a good question. Maybe something in 2 years I can add to the mechanics manual. I end up saying hot, the clock is hot, and or I say chop. Those are the two that I say. If I want it, if it's on the snap, I'll say chop, and if I need them to, if it's on the ready, need them to wind, then it's hot. But no, Bo, I think whatever your Whitecap is comfortable with, and that could be part of your pregame, just letting them know. I mean, I know we end up having to help and working off crew a lot. It's probably not a conversation you have to have with your Whitecap that you work with, 10 games a year with, but it definitely could add it as part of your pregame with your crew. If you're not comfortable with them both. Thank you. That's a good question.
Hey, Joel.
Yeah.
Joel, because of every crew being different, I've just gone to, it's on the ready, it's on the snap.
Yeah. Using rulebook is great too. Terminology. All right. It's actually my last slide because I, didn't need to beat a horse. I wanted to keep it a high level conversation with all you guys. I don't think I've talked about anything that you haven't heard before, but always great to review all of this before the season and do positional breakouts. That was one of the reasons why we're doing positional breakouts. When we did the Raiders clinic and we got feedback from everybody, that was one of the primary feedback was, hey, let's do position breakouts, and we will do more of it during the season. And I think that's some of the best work I've gotten at our meetings is when we've broken out by position. So I wanted to do that as well here. I thought we'd get more from it. It would be more helpful for, I looked at the role. We had a decent amount of new officials on here too that probably aren't in this call because they should be on the line of scrimmage. But when you're new, getting that is helpful. So finding out what position that you're going to be working. So that's why we're doing these right now. So like I touched on earlier, sometimes we're the best officials on the crew to relay information. I could think of a few examples last season where I ended up having, extensive conversations with the head coach during dead ball situations. And overall, the coach appreciated it and the crew appreciated it. If I was the calling official or not, or if I just had a good view of what happened, and I'm able to get over there a lot easier than the white cap or the H or the L or the umpire, right? I think as a back judge, we have that ability to work sideline to sideline. Now, pre-snap, I'm almost never going to be outside of the hashes pre-snap, right? But during dead ball situations, I'm going to be where I need to be. So the bullets I put in here, you want to be an active communicator. You want to use this ability to communicate with the coaches, to help diffuse situations, allow them to be informed. So don't go over there looking for conflict, right? We want to just get information that may help. And if we get that information over to the coach and he still wants to talk about it, then you also have the ability to walk away. So that's one thing that we always have to keep in mind. Say, coach, that's the information I have. If you have any more questions, then I can get that information. Otherwise, I got to get back to officiating. If you want to argue, that's not. I gave you the information already. That's what happened, coach. So that's all I have. I just haven't seen a lot of. Shouldn't say I haven't seen. I think it's something we can do better as an association, as a back judge, is making sure that we are utilizing our position to communicate with coaches. All right. Was there any questions or anything that I didn't go over that as a back judge that we want to discuss?
Hey, Joe, Greg Boyd, I have a question.
Go right ahead.
When you were talking about going to discuss a call with the coach, do you require that they use one of their timeouts and ask for an official conference?
The back judge, no. But the example I'm thinking of the most recently this past season, where I really went ahead and did it was, there was some dead ball situation, injury or whatever that wasn't a team timeout. And I was the calling official on some play, and my H or my L wasn't really able to explain it to them. That's what I really try and do, Greg, is use it to explain the rules. If they don't agree with the rule, or my judgment, there's, the conversation kind of ends. But that's how I usually try to use it, Greg. Or just as, getting in and out, just as a reminder that, hey, my hand, when my hand goes up, it's 5 seconds, coach, right? Things like that. Right. Try to preventive officiate. And really just use it to communicate with the head coach if needed.
Yeah, I do it that way too. Whenever they want to just talk to me about something I saw or didn't see, I tell them, coach, between plays, dead ball, I can talk to you. But if they want to talk to the white hat, I tell them, no, you have to call a timeout and request an official conference.
Hey, Boykins, I think it's going to be specific to each thing going on. If the coach is ranting and railing, I'm probably walking to the other side of the field. If he wants to talk, then he's going to call a timeout. If it's just something, hey, did you see this? That's a different conversation.
Well, yeah.
Pass by.
That's what I was just saying. They just ask questions from the sideline. When we run to the sideline, they want to ask while we're there on a play down the field in the back judge's area. What'd you see? Why'd you call a PL on that? What am I got to do? I just want to let him know. But like you said, if he's ranting and raving, not listening, got to call a timeout. If you want to talk to the white hat, I'm not going to talk to you.
Yeah, I agree. The little passing conversation is quick, easy. It's, hey, watch for this. Did my guy do this? And it's as you're running and it's not a conversation, that's something different. If he wants to have a conversation, that's a timeout all day long.
So, the other thing, too, I just thought of, I didn't create a slide for it. Thanks, Ben. Thanks, Greg. Was I didn't really want to talk about it in front of a larger group because it's the defenseless receiver call. It's something that's unique to the Federation rule book. It's not at any other level. So when we do end up having to call that, it usually can be I don't want to say controversial, but no one's familiar with the rules, right? Because no one else really has a similar foul. It just becomes unnecessary roughness at other levels. But we do have a specific set of rules for defenseless receiver. And it is one of the points of emphasis this season. It has been in the past. I don't really care for how they put the word targeting in there at the point of emphasis, because targeting in high school is, the rule book is vague at best, and it's not the same as other levels either. So that's also confusing when we use that verbiage on the high school football field. We really, the philosophy that I generally have when it comes to targeting is we're just not going to use that word just because it just starts an avalanche of, oh, now, why is this kid still in the game? Like, shouldn't he be disqualified or ejected? Yada yada yada. If we have a 15-yard defenseless receiver foul, and we're down on it, I think it's something that would be another example of when we're probably going to end up communicating to the white cap and then maybe communicating to the offended team's coach if he's or if he or she is receptive to it, right? If we're able to really explain it, like, hey, number 38 had no intention on playing the ball. It was unnecessary, and it was a flagrant hit to the head or neck area when the ball, we don't have an uncatchable ball, but we could say the ball was 20 yards over his head. Okay. And he just hit him in the head and tackled him. That's a defensive receiver. That's a foul. It's 15 yards, coach. And then if he wants to say we're soft and this and that, that's when you walk away, Ben, or don't even get that close. So, does anybody want to talk about that further? Any questions about that rule?
Well, you're right. You're right, Joel. Targeting is not a good term in high school because at the next two levels, you can get ejected for targeting. Hitting above the neck and shoulder in high school is a judgment by the calling official whether it was flagrant enough to you have the guy ejected.
I think the verbiage of wrapping in an attempt to tackle comes pivotal in this one. So we're either going to see more penalties or kids and coaches changing what they're doing.
Yeah, and we also don't have the uncatchable ball rule. So that also would add a layer that would be helpful that we could use to judge this foul, but we don't. So every by rule, every pass is catchable, but obviously we're going to use our best judgment to, rule on the play. But that makes it even more difficult. I think it's not a new rule. I'm trying to remember when it was introduced over 2 seasons ago. And it has helped clean up those. I actually have not at high school. I've been in games where it's happened, but I've not been working back judge. I have not thrown that foul yet, or nor in a high level game I have not thrown that foul. So it has worked. DBs and safeties aren't cleaning out defenseless receivers, like they used to, and just get advantage. I don't want to say get away with it, but there was a leeway of, okay, it's either a foul or it's either unsportsmanlike or it's not. Well, now we have a category for it. It's a dead ball foul. So, or excuse me, a live ball foul now. They cleaned up that as well.
Hey, Joel.
Yes.
It's Terry.
What's going on, Terry?
Not much. Listen, I got in late because I was trying to figure out how to catch.
Oh, got to come back off mute, bud. Lost you there, Terry.
Terry's new at Zoom, man. I'm trying to help him out.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yeah, we got you, bud.
Okay, I don't know what happened. Anyway, what I was saying is, you guys, one of the tools that you can use a lot is just having a conversation with these guys. We're talking about hits on a defensive player or guys just jaw jacking a lot back there, just running their mouths. you guys, don't hesitate to come up and have a conversation with these guys, to kind of diffuse the situation a little bit, talk them down off it a little bit. Or if they came close with a hit to a player, an offensive guy, make sure you come in there and say something to them, because you'd be surprised how many times when you let them know that you're watching them, that they're kind of going to be on their P's and Q's a little bit more to not make stupid errors like that. But, don't hesitate to have a conversation with them, because you're back there and you like that center fielder. So don't hesitate to use that tool to just get active with talking to these guys. You'd be surprised how far that'll go.
That's a great point, Terry, because we're not having to go there and get the spot. We're not concerned about necessarily relaying the ball to the umpire and spotting the ball for the next play. We have that ability. If we see something dumb and that could escalate into even dumber stuff, we're able to get in there and talk to him about it, Terry.
Absolutely.
And that's one of the advantages we have at our position, and something I like to do. Go ahead, Vince.
What kind of conversations that you have with either the DB or the receiver, so we understand, when you say conversations, what kind of conversations, for example, would you be having?
Well, you're gonna let that whole scenario dictate itself. If you see a bad actor acting up, somebody that's headhunting, or just, he's always got something to say at the end of the play, and now he's starting to get other players riled up, you can go in there and have a conversation with him, tell him, hey man, tone it down, or I'm gonna have to have a conversation with your coach. You let these plays dictate themselves. So, it's not anything that I can say that just jumps out. But as a back judge back there, sometimes you're just sitting back there and you're just observing a lot. Sometimes you got to come up and make your presence known. It just depends.
What I like to do, Vince, generally, if it is a DB or safety, and I try to build a rapport, I'll be like, 25, you're the best player on the field. You don't need to talk to them about it. You're already the best guy out here, and you're already showing it. So that's generally how I try to approach that conversation, if it hasn't gotten to the point where he's barking back at us, right? Which does happen as well. When you try to help them, they can't help themselves.
Yeah, and you got to be careful when you say something to them also, on punt plays. I always used to make a habit of having a conversation with that deep returner, just making sure that he's giving me the proper signal, just making sure that, I'm just having that conversation with him to make him feel good and comfortable back there. And it helps me out too, to make sure that I'm dialed in.
Yeah. We discussed that at length too. Yeah. Want to make sure that was part of everybody's pregame, finding out who they are, making sure that they have the fair catch rules covered before the game even starts, like you said, making them feel comfortable.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Hey, Terry, the other thing too that I realize work in different sports, but football talking, the coaches like preventive officiating when we talk to the players. It don't matter what sport we're working. If we can have some brief conversations with the players during the game about different things, I mean, it's not often that I'd have a coach say, "Hey, stop talking about players." Most of the time, they appreciate it, especially if you're trying to talk these kids out of a potential foul during the game.
Absolutely. And what that does is that helps keep you dialed in, because there's always situations out there that you are trying to stay dialed in on your pre-snap. Okay. And just having a conversation, just thinking about certain things. And so let me just ask this question also, because Joel, you had mentioned momentum earlier in the evening. I think it was you.
Yeah.
And so situational football, guys, I think that's one of the things that as a back judge, I always used to want to make sure that I'm thinking ahead of the game. Okay. And so when you're talking about momentum, Joel or whomever, is there any place on the field that you're thinking about that sort of stuff, that you're starting to get dialed in on certain plays like momentum or, something like that? Because if you have an interception deep, what are you guys thinking about? Somebody give me some of the things that they think about when they're back there. Joel?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm going to be thinking about momentum when I'm lined up. If I have teams that are throwing the ball and I'm lined up, at the goal line or lined up at the end line, I will be thinking about that. I will make sure, like I talked about earlier too, is making sure that we have two bean bags at all times. Every back judge, they need to go out there. They could be the same color, I don't care, but make sure you have two. And then on punt plays, if we have coffin corner or some situation where we could have a catch or recovery within 5 of the goal line, making sure that we have a bag down at the end of the kick. And if their own momentum takes them in, then we're aware of that, right? Fumbles, it happens, but there's not really where I'm going to add it to my pre-snap, Terry.
If you're lined up, if you have a punt play and you're lined up anywhere around the 5-yard line, because that momentum it involves inside the 5 to the goal line. Anytime I was around that 5-6 yard line, I made sure that I was definitely thinking momentum. Okay. Not only that, is you got a pass play. You got a situation also where you can have an interception. So just like a situational football, sometimes you can help yourself out a lot, because when that kind of stuff happens, it's like, oh shit. And so if I'm around the 5 or the 6 yard line, even if it's a pass play or a potential pass play, I'm thinking momentum for an interception purpose, just like I'm thinking on a punt. If that guy receives that ball, inside the 5-yard line, and there's a momentum situation, I got a beanbag down. You're going to have a beanbag down on an interception. But yeah, situational football, guys, just always keep that pre-snap routine alive, and it'll help you out in a whole lot of different situations. But you got to practice it. And a lot of times when I'm watching games on TV, I put myself on that field out there, and
The rooms are done.